Hello, everybody. Welcome to It's All Right with Suzette, a 30-minute talk show where I interview authors and their works. And today we have a brand spanking new author, someone very new to the field, who published her first young adult novel called Finding All I Need. Her name is Mary Walerak. She lives in Minnesota. And I am so interested, as you all will be, on her process of getting to publication. It's such a journey. And wonderfully enough, she's here today to talk about her experience and her process. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Suzette.
Now, I know that you have quite the background in life and health coaching, and that you came to this book writing experience as a real novice, and you took it from idea and conception all the way to publication. And when did Finding All I Need come out?
Finding Alineade just came out in August, I believe, the very end of August. So it's pretty new.
August 2025. And so now tell us, I'm anxious to hear what your book is about.
Finding All I Need is basically following a young girl, Charlie, who is kind of going into middle grade and on into high school. And she's leaving that childhood and going through that time of confusion. So it takes her kind of from school, where she's going through things, she's transported into a land called All I Need, which is this magical fantasy world where she meets some characters that help her kind of take her through the land where she learns her lessons. There's a little ladybug, Lucy, who teaches her about trusting in herself. And there's also a wizard wizards teach about belief and manifesting what you want. So having that belief in herself. There's a little dragon, a pet dragon of the wizards, and her name is Instinct, and she teaches Charlie all about trusting her intuition. And then the final main character is the map maker of All I Need, who is with them, and he kind of helps record Charlie's journey. She makes all of her own choices. They're there to help if she asks or wants to know. But generally, she's kind of making her way and learning her lessons as she goes through All I Need.
Well, that's fantastic, because we all know that changing into middle school is fraught with a lot of personal insecurities and challenges. And I love that your book covers trust, good choices, tapping into your intuition, and that kind of belief in something magical in your life that you can actually tap into. You know, the magic of self-empowerment, I think, is a very profound message. Now, I'd like to know what prompted you to write this book.
It just, I've always wanted to write a book. I'm one of those people. But as I started seeing my own grandchildren getting into this part of life where they were going into middle school, I just started thinking about back even when I was in middle school, and what would I wanted to have read that might have been helpful. And that is really where the whole idea of Finding All I Need came from.
Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. And what kind of reception have you received from your granddaughter or any young adults? Well, middle schoolers, that age bracket. Have you had any feedback?
Well, I have from my grandchildren. They've read it, so they like it. They even just helped me. I did just a book signing thing, and they came and helped me with it because they were kind of part of the story. But and also one of my grandchildren is very artistic, and she's the one who built. There's a map in the front of the book, and she's the one who drew it. So they've kind of helped me with it that way too.
Mary, that's wonderful. It's family involvement and
Mhm,
tapping directly into your demographic.
mhm.
Now, I would like to know, being a self-published author, and do you consider yourself self-published?
I went the route of more of a hybrid because I really knew nothing about publishing. And the more I read about it, the more complicated it seemed. And so I felt I needed a little help.
Well, that is something that I'm dying to talk to you about. So you chose a hybrid publication, Kirk House
Hmm.
Publications.
Hmm.
And tell us briefly, how did you come to that selection? And for the listeners and viewers out there, hybrid, you want to define what a hybrid publisher is?
Hmm.
Um, Go ahead, Mary.
Well, a hybrid publisher helps with all of the kind of nuts and bolts of putting it together into a book, and getting it um, registered in all the places it needs to be registered. And so the final product is I had all the insight. I told them what I wanted. They helped me design it, and then they were the ones who put together and really got it out there. So it was an actual book that
Now,
everybody can read.
I think people are very curious. When you self-publish, when you do it
Mm-hmm.
all on your own, all those costs and expenses are yours.
Mm-hmm.
However, all there's a greater profit margin. When you go
Mm-hmm.
with a traditional publisher, and
Mm-hmm.
let's say through an agent, the agent
Mm-hmm.
is going to get a cut. And
Mm-hmm.
also, you as the author may get anywhere from a 10 to 15% royalty,
Mm-hmm.
which generally speaking isn't a lot. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what was involved with hybrid publishing? Did you have to put out a fee, or do they take it on and then you get a certain amount? How does that work? What's the general structure of paying them or not?
I did. I paid for editing. I paid them for kind of setting it up. I have some, they designed. I told them what I wanted on the cover, and worked with me to design that. There's some pictures in the book of the way it laid out. So I did. I had all the say, but they did it, and of course, I they charge for their different services. Um, they all are a little bit different, I think, in how they charge. Uh, the person I had, I thought was really reasonable. I mean, for all the help I got, I thought she was wonderful, and but she made sure that it was all, I they have certain places they have to register it, and then you get ID numbers and all of that sort of thing, which I still have no clue. But she did all of that for me. Um, and when it's all said and done, they do take part of the profit, and I can't remember exactly, but it's a lot better deal than going with a full publisher. Um, and I can just kind of, I have control of the book. So I can tell her how she's been filling any orders that I've gotten. If I tell her I would need so many books, she will print that many books. I have full control. She's never going to be the one in control of my books. So I have full say of what I can and cannot do with the book. And I've heard, and this I don't know for sure, but if you go with a full-time publisher and it doesn't really go right away, they kind of then they go on to the next person. Whereas she's been really good about staying with me, and I can also, for additional fees, have her work with me on a monthly basis. I actually did buy a 6-month package up front of marketing. So she's doing a lot of marketing for me. And then after that, if I want to keep her on for any reason, I pay per month. And
Mary,
so she,
oh, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask you, Kirkhouse publication.
yes,
You chose
yes.
them. How much research did you do beforehand to actually choose Kirkhouse when it came to a hybrid publisher?
I could talk to a few different publishers. I actually had met the person in charge of Kirkhouse at a writers kind of conference that they had. And when I was very first starting writing, and she gave me a lot of information and she was really good and talked to me. So it was a great start. So when I was actually looking for a publisher, I talked to her again. I talked to other publishers, but I just kept going back to her. It was kind of an intuitive thing. I really liked her. I felt I could work with her.
Well, thank you, Mary. It's such a process. Now, I know that it took you 5 years to, from beginning to end,
Mhm.
to complete finding all I need. I love the illustrations, really beautiful illustrations. It took you
Mhm.
5 years to write it. And let's talk a little bit about character development. Um, how how were you able to give each character a distinct personality in the way they talked, in the way they encountered Charlie? Tell us a little bit about how you developed personalities in your book.
Well, when I was first starting out, I am, I don't know how many people know these terms, but they have a plotter and a pantser kind of. And so when I first started out, I was always taught you had to have an outline and do all those sorts of things. And I was really struggling. So what I found is I would sit down and I would have an idea or a question or of what I wanted. And I just, with each character, I just sat down and kind of asked, what are you like? What do you want to get? You know, what do I want to get out of you? What is Charlie going to learn? And I just kind of developed the characters individually like that. And I knew I had certain, like trust and belief and instinct. I knew I had certain things I wanted to get across. So I just assigned a character to each one and just kind of wrote about them and learned who they were. And that's kind of how I developed them.
And tell me, every author struggles with moving forward. Tell me what your biggest challenge was in completing this book.
Um, Me. Uh, I I think I'm like everybody. It's over 5 years, and you have times when you really dig in, and then times when you get distracted, and then once you're distracted, trying to get back at it. So I was very lucky. Um, I had in the very beginning, I took a writing class from a teacher that I had taken a class from before and liked, and it was a Zoom because it was the very start of the pandemic. So there were people from all over the country, and she broke us out into individual breakaway groups. And our group just clicked. And so we stayed together. And to this day, every Friday morning, we get together and talk. And it's kind of become just a friend, coffee clatch in some instances, but we always do talk about each other's book and help each other with whatever we need at that moment. So they have been just the backbone of this whole thing. There's two. Gail is from Boston and Donna is from Madison. So,
That's
but we still get
wonderful.
together. Yep.
And you're touching on an aspect of writing that, number one, it's a pretty solitary journey,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really helpful to get together with other writers, especially how easy it has become on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And for the viewers out there, I'll tell you that I had founded a free writing space 4 years ago, and we meet in our collective little squares on Wednesday morning and on Sunday afternoon, and that's how I met you, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, there's no workshopping or discussion. We just sit in our little squares and we write, and it's our form of accountability to
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So that's wonderful. And now we're
Mm-hmm.
going to take a brief break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about Mary Walerak's book, Finding All I Need, and her writing process, and how helpful it's going to be to brand new and aspiring authors out there. So stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and we're back to It's All Right with Suzette, and today's featured author, Mary Walerak, the author of Finding All I Need,
Mm-hmm.
an insightful and magical guide for YA readers, especially those who are entering middle school and higher. So,
Mm-hmm.
welcome back, Mary. And what I would love to know, we're talking about character development.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said when you first sat down, you weren't really sure about what direction the personality of Charlie would take, or even for that matter, how the story was going to go. And that's something that is so common to many, many, many writers. So I would love for you to choose a part of your book to read so that people get an idea of your writing style and the flavor and why you particularly chose this section and what it is. Take it away, Mary.
Okay, I am going to read the prologue because um, the writing class that I talked about earlier, when at the very beginning of the pandemic, going into it, I wanted to have some direction. I knew kind of what I was thinking about, but I wanted to kind of get to know the main character more. So I sat down and I wrote the prologue. And the prologue ended up being basically the start of the whole book. I have never changed it. And it's kind of the introduction to Charlie and who I kept her as through the whole time. So I can read that for you. Okay. Here I am, Charlie. Actually, there was a time when I wasn't sure who I was, just who I was supposed to be. People said I was a dreamer, not in a good sense. What I sometimes see and believe aren't real, at least to them. I was always a good girl. I always understood right from wrong and how things should be done. But sometimes how things should be done just didn't feel right to me. Not wrong, really, just not the only way or the most efficient way to achieve what I wanted. Everyone seemed to have all the answers, but I just couldn't always see them. At least I didn't always see them in the way everyone else felt comfortable with. I didn't want to seem contrary, but it just felt like someone or something didn't want me to be an ordinary girl doing things in an ordinary way. What would it be like to be able to be the real me, the me I felt inside? The inquisitive one, the one that was moving in the right direction but kept wondering where other choices might lead. Did that make me extraordinary or something of an abnormality or oddity? Would that make my life more exciting or it would take me somewhere where I just didn't fit in? At the time, I thought I might never know, but that something just kept pulling at me, tempting me. Something inside, my intuition maybe, told me the path I wanted to take would feel easier, for me at least. I wouldn't feel like I was always trudging uphill, finding my way in a crowd. Most people will stay on the usual path and never know how beautiful new experiences can be. They will stay safe and be one in a crowd, but no one will think them odd or laugh and make fun of them or make them feel small. They will still be free to make their own choices, but they will never know the freedom of making the choices that seem right for them. The alternate path will be full of choices, good choices, just not the ones most people understand at the time. Maybe at the end they will notice my smile, my lightness, and how, in my own way, I enjoyed the ride. When it's over, I will still be a good girl. I will have just done it my way. How did I learn to do this? Let me share the story. I had help.
Beautiful, Mary. Beautiful. And we only have a couple of minutes left. So where can people reach you directly? Do you have a website or a Facebook page?
I do have a website. It is author Mary Walerak.com.
And can you spell your last name for everyone, just to be sure?
It's Walerak.
Mary Walerak.
And that would have everything, but I am listed on Amazon and Kindle and Barnes and Noble and all of them.
And now that you've finished your book, the new summit to scale is social media, book promotion, all of that. Now we have a couple of minutes, and do you have a plan, or is there what are you encountering with now managing the very, very different aspect of book publishing?
Like I told you, my publisher is helping me, excuse me, is helping me start getting lined up. She is very interested in trying to get the books in schools and libraries. She feels that that's a good place for it. Uh, but so she's kind of lining up places for me to maybe go and speak to groups, things like that. Um, as far as getting it into bookstores, there I might start going around the area and go into local bookstores. I've talked to a few of them, and they're very anxious to get the books. So it's um, it's interesting. I'm at the very beginning of this ride. So I'm just really hoping that it will maybe start getting some traction once people realize what the book is for, because I'm really hoping it will be a tool for these young kids, something as for empowerment.
Now, are you on Instagram or Facebook or any of those social media channels?
I am on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know that one yet. I haven't.
Instagram.
But I do. I am on Facebook. I'm not on a lot of like Instagram and things like that. As you can tell, I'm probably not the most technical person in the world, but
But Mary, this is the beauty of having you on the show. There are so many people just like you, starting out, unfamiliar, and having to almost create this whole social media promotion thing from the ground up. And so it's
yes.
interesting to find that you've completed the milestone of publication, and now it's a completely separate job to build up the promotion, book signings, outreach. And it sounds really good that Kirkhouse is helping you, because you do need that. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. And if there's one thing that you want, one piece of advice that you would give to aspiring writers who are on the other side of your accomplishment, meaning that they're starting out, what would you like to end with?
Um, I, for me, the thing I really learned was what I was writing in the book. I just trusted the process. A lot of times I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing, and I felt like I was hitting a wall, but I didn't stop. And something really magical would happen, like meeting you, Suzette. So,
Oh, well, thank you.
because your group that you do have that meets Wednesdays and Sundays, that really helped keep me on track. It's a matter of just taking one step in front of the other, and the ground just kind of comes up and meets you. And there have been moments where things have happened that I never dreamed could, and that's been so wonderful.
It is wonderful, and writing is a magical journey when people or
Mm-hmm.
situations rise up to support
Mm-hmm.
you. You know, that is
Mm-hmm.
the creative process. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
all we have time for today on It's All Right with Suzette. Big thanks to author Mary Walerak, who is the author of Finding All I Need. And
Mm-hmm.
we will see you soon again. Take care and happy writing. Bye,
Thank
Mary.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.